Have you ever had the feeling that life keeps showing you the same patterns over and over again? That no matter how far you run, you always seem to come back to the same kinds of people, the same kinds of problems, and the same empty questions echoing inside your mind. Maybe it's not a coincidence. Maybe the world isn't happening to you. Maybe it's happening through you. What if I told you that everything you experience, the love, the pain, the chaos, the silence, is not just a sequence of random events, but reflections of you? This isn't just poetic thinking. Across ancient spiritual texts, modern psychology, and even quantum theories of consciousness, there's a common thread. The outer world mirrors the inner world. Think about it. When you're in a joyful state, the world looks brighter. Conversations feel lighter. People seem kinder. But when you're anxious, afraid, or insecure, suddenly everything feels like a threat. Even silence becomes uncomfortable. The world hasn't changed. You did. And the world simply responded. That's what this video is about. Not just philosophy for the sake of thought, but a deep, quiet truth that, if you really grasp it, can change the way you experience your entire life. What if the world isn't trying to hurt you, but heal you? What if every painful experience is simply a message from your soul, trying to be seen? And what if the way out is not fighting the mirror, but understanding what it's showing you? You weren't born to walk through life blindfolded, chasing answers in all the wrong places. You were born to wake up, to begin noticing the patterns, to ask, not, why is this happening to me? But what is this trying to teach me about myself? In the next chapters, we're going to explore how the world acts as a mirror for your thoughts, your wounds, your hopes, and your fears. We'll talk about pain, relationships, loneliness, money, identity, and the subtle signs that the universe uses to whisper the truth to you. No fluff, no preaching. Just you, me, and the mirror that is your life, finally being held up in front of you. Take a breath, let your walls down, and let's begin. Look around you. Everything you see, the people you love, the people who hurt you, the strangers on the street, the things that make you feel safe, the things that trigger your deepest fears, they're all mirrors. Not literal glass, but reflections of what's already inside of you. We think we see the world as it is, but we don't. We see it as we are. The idea that the world mirrors your internal state isn't new. Ancient traditions have whispered this truth for centuries. In the words of Carl Jung, who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakes. Yet in our fast-paced, distraction-heavy lives, we've forgotten how to truly look within. We've become experts at analyzing the world and amateurs at understanding ourselves. Let's go deeper. Have you ever noticed how two people can walk through the same situation and have completely different reactions? One person walks into a crowded room and feels energized, alive, connected. Another person walks into the same room and feels judged, small, invisible. The room is the same. The people are the same. The only difference is the lens they're looking through. That lens is shaped by your beliefs, your past experiences, your emotional wounds, your expectations, your fears. All of these form a filter through which you interpret reality. The world doesn't show you truth. It shows you your version of the truth, your emotional fingerprint projected onto the canvas of life. So when someone criticizes you and it crushes your spirit, the real pain doesn't come from their words. It comes from your belief that their words are true, that you are not good enough, that you need approval to feel worthy. But if you didn't hold that belief, their criticism would pass through you like wind, because the mirror wouldn't have anything to reflect back. Let's try an experiment. Think of a person in your life who frustrates you. Maybe they're arrogant, selfish, controlling. Now ask yourself this: what about them triggers me? And then go one step further. What does that say about me? Sometimes, what we dislike in others are traits we unconsciously carry ourselves, but haven't made peace with. Or, we're envious of their freedom, their boldness, because we don't allow ourselves to live that way. This is shadow work, a term coined by Jung. The shadow is the part of yourself that you hide, suppress, or deny. But here's the thing: just because you ignore it doesn't mean it disappears. It shows up, again and again, in your relationships, in your failures, and the world. The world patiently holds up the mirror and says, "Here it is again. Will you see it this time?" Let's talk about love. Falling in love is often described as finding your other half. But more often, it's finding the mirror you've been avoiding. That's why love is so powerful and so painful. It exposes you. It reveals where you feel unworthy, where you cling, where you fear abandonment. It also reveals where you are capable of great tenderness, forgiveness, and transformation. In the mirror of another's eyes, you see your highest potential and your deepest wounds. And yet we often blame the other person. We say, "They hurt me, they disappointed me, they left me." But what if their actions simply reflected back what you already feared was true about yourself? That you're not enough, that you're too much, that you're unlovable. The pain didn't start with them. They just triggered what was already inside. Now, this doesn't mean you should tolerate mistreatment. It doesn't mean you should spiritualize abuse or gaslight yourself into staying in harmful situations. But it does mean this: every reaction you have is an opportunity, a signpost, a mirror pointing inward. The more aware you become of this, the more power you regain. Suddenly, the world isn't this chaotic, random, hostile place. It becomes a feedback loop, a compass, a whisper. It's saying, "Here's where your beliefs are still holding you hostage. Here's where you're still carrying stories that no longer serve you. Here's the next layer to be healed." When you begin to see the world this way, everything changes. You stop blaming, you start observing, you stop reacting, you start reflecting. You move from victimhood to responsibility, not the kind that shames you, but the kind that empowers you. You realize that your power doesn't lie in controlling the world. It lies in understanding yourself. Let me give you a real-world example. Imagine someone cuts you off in traffic. Your heart rate spikes. You yell inside your car. You stew on it for hours. What is the mirror here? Maybe it's not about the car. Maybe it's your unhealed belief that you're invisible, disrespected, not seen. And that moment on the highway was just a match striking a memory from years ago. An old story. People always ignore me. I don't matter. The mirror is always subtle, always patient. It doesn't scream, it reflects. And here's the beauty: when you do start seeing the mirror clearly, you begin to break free. Because now, you're no longer chasing shadows or fighting enemies that don't exist. You're turning inward. You're healing. And when your inner world shifts, so does everything else. Because the mirror only ever reflects you. Pain. It's something we all try to avoid. Yet it finds us anyway, time and time again. Whether it's the sting of a broken relationship, the ache of loneliness, the weight of failure, or the invisible scars left by past wounds, pain is a universal language. But what if pain isn't your enemy? What if pain is not punishment, not a cruel twist of fate, but a message? When the world reflects pain back to you, it's not a sign that you're weak or broken beyond repair. Instead, it's your soul's way of speaking, a mirror echoing your deepest unmet needs, your unhealed parts, your hidden truths. Pain is like a lighthouse flashing in the darkness, trying to guide you home. Most of us live in a culture that teaches us to suppress pain, to numb it with distractions, addictions, or endless business. We're told pain is something to be gotten rid of as fast as possible, something to hide, to fix, or to overcome quickly so we can get back to normal. But true healing begins only when we stop running and start listening. Let's take a moment to reflect on this. Imagine pain as a messenger knocking at your door. If you slam that door shut, the knocking becomes louder, more persistent. It may appear as anger, sadness, anxiety, or even physical illness. If instead you open the door, just a crack, and listen, you'll discover what the messenger wants to say. What is pain telling you? Maybe it's a signal that you're living out of alignment with your true self. Maybe it's a reminder that you have boundaries that need protecting. Maybe it's pointing toward a belief you've held for so long that it has become a cage. Or maybe it's showing you where you've been carrying shame, guilt, or self-rejection. Pain is never random. It's purposeful. Philosophers throughout history have struggled to make sense of pain. The Stoics believed suffering was inevitable, but that our response to it was within our control. Buddha taught that attachment and resistance to life's impermanence create suffering, but awareness and acceptance lead to liberation. Modern psychology tells us that emotional pain often arises from unresolved trauma, unmet needs, or distorted self-perceptions. All these perspectives agree on one thing: pain is a signal, a guide. The world around you reflects your inner pain, because that pain shapes your reality. When you are wounded, you unconsciously seek situations that echo your inner hurt. You might repeatedly find yourself in relationships where you're not valued, or jobs where you feel unseen. This repetition isn't a curse. It's a mirror inviting you to stop, look, and heal. Here's a story to illustrate this. A friend once told me about her constant struggles with trust. Every time she started to open up, she would feel abandoned or betrayed. She blamed others for her pain, believing that people just couldn't be trusted. But as she began to look deeper, she realized her distrust was rooted in childhood wounds. Times she felt invisible or unheard. Once she understood this, she began working on healing those early wounds. She started recognizing when her fear was triggering her reactions. And slowly, the mirror shifted. She began attracting relationships that reflected safety and respect, not betrayal. This is the power of understanding pain as a mirror. Pain invites you to become your own healer, to stop blaming the world and start healing your inner world. When you do this, the world no longer feels like an enemy, but a wise teacher. But this journey isn't easy. Healing pain requires courage. The courage to face what you've buried. The courage to sit with discomfort. The courage to be honest with yourself when you don't like what you see. It also requires patience. Healing doesn't happen overnight. The mirror may continue to show the same reflection again and again, until you're ready to truly see it. Remember, pain is a process, not a destination. In many spiritual traditions, pain is understood as part of the soul's evolution. It strips away illusions and false identities, making room for deeper awareness. Like a sculptor chiseling away stone to reveal the statue within, pain chips away layers of denial and defense, helping you discover your authentic self. The key is to meet pain with openness instead of resistance, to listen with curiosity instead of fear, to ask yourself, what is this pain trying to show me about who I really am? What story am I telling myself that keeps this pain alive? What would happen if I allowed myself to feel it fully, without judgment, without escape? When you approach pain this way, it loses its power to hurt you in destructive ways. It becomes a doorway, an invitation to transformation. The world is reflecting back your pain not to trap you, but to free you. It's showing you where you're stuck, so you can move forward. It's holding up a mirror to your soul, asking you to be brave enough to see, to feel, and to heal. And the more you embrace this, the more you begin to notice something miraculous. Pain doesn't last forever. It changes. It softens, it teaches, and on the other side of that pain there is peace. So, the next time life brings you pain, remember this pain is not the enemy. It is your soul echoing back to you, inviting you home. If the world is a mirror, then your relationships are some of its clearest reflections. The people who come into your life are not random guests. They are actors playing roles in the story you are living. And often, that story is written deep inside you, long before you even met them. Have you ever wondered why you keep attracting the same kind of people, the same patterns of love and conflict, the same disappointments, betrayals, or moments of profound connection? This isn't just coincidence or bad luck. It's your inner script being played out in the theater of your life. Your inner script is a collection of beliefs, fears, and unresolved emotions that you carry, sometimes consciously, often unconsciously, from your past experiences, especially your early relationships. It's the narrative you tell yourself about who you are, what you deserve, and how love should look. Maybe your script says, I have to earn love. People will always leave me. Love means sacrifice and pain. Or even, I am only worthy if I am perfect. Whatever your script is, it shapes what you seek and what you accept in others. If you believe you are unworthy of love, you may unconsciously attract relationships where you are neglected or mistreated because that fits your story. If you fear abandonment, you might cling tightly to partners, creating cycles of push and pull. If you grew up in chaos, you might unconsciously seek partners who reflect that same chaos, thinking it's normal. These patterns are like mirrors holding up your inner story, showing you the parts you may not want to see. They can feel frustrating, painful, or confusing, but they are not there to punish you. They are there to awaken you. The first step to breaking these patterns is awareness. When you begin to notice the ways your relationships mirror your inner beliefs, you gain power. You start to see that the problems aren't just out there, but inside you, in the stories you've been carrying. This awareness is not about blame. It's about understanding. It's about asking yourself, what am I believing about myself that makes this relationship possible? What fears am I carrying that keep me stuck in this cycle? What do I need to heal within to change what I attract? And here's the truth. Your relationships are not just reflections of your pain. They are also reflections of your potential. They show you not only where you are wounded, but where you can grow, where you can learn to love more deeply, and where you can heal old wounds by choosing differently. Love is the greatest mirror we have because it reflects both our shadows and our light. It shows us our capacity for forgiveness, compassion, and vulnerability. It challenges us to be honest with ourselves and others, and it invites us to step into our authentic power, not by controlling others, but by healing and transforming ourselves. When you start rewriting your inner script, changing the beliefs you hold about yourself and love, you change the relationships you attract. You begin to seek people who reflect the love you're learning to give yourself. You start attracting connections based on mutual respect, kindness, and authenticity. This doesn't mean relationships become perfect. There will always be challenges and growth, but the mirror shifts from showing wounds to showing possibility. Imagine a world where your relationships are not battlegrounds, but classrooms, where every conflict is an invitation to learn, every heartbreak a call to heal, and every connection a doorway to deeper understanding. This is the power of seeing relationships as mirrors, and it all starts with looking inward, with being brave enough to face your own story, to heal your own wounds, and to rewrite your own script. Because when you do, the world, your world, begins to reflect back the truth of who you really are, worthy of love, capable of growth, and ready for transformation. Loneliness is one of the most profound experiences of being human. It creeps in quietly, often uninvited, and settles like a shadow that dims the brightest moments. To be lonely feels like standing in an empty room, surrounded by people but still feeling unseen. Yet loneliness is not merely the absence of company. It is far more intricate, subtle, and deeply spiritual than that. Loneliness isn't isolation. It's the soul's quiet call. Imagine a star shining in the vast night sky. Though the star burns brightly, it exists alone in the dark expanse. It is separate from other stars, yet it is also a beacon, a signal that calls out, asking, "Are you there?" Loneliness is much like that. It is an invitation to look inward, to listen deeply, and to reconnect with the essential self that often gets lost in the noise of the world. In our modern age, surrounded by instant connection through screens and social media, loneliness has paradoxically become more widespread. We have thousands of online friends, yet many feel more disconnected than ever. This paradox speaks to a deeper truth. Connection is not about quantity but quality. It's not about being surrounded by others, but about being deeply known and accepted, beginning with ourselves. Loneliness calls us to a different kind of connection, the kind that cannot be found in external validation or fleeting distractions. It's a call to solitude, not as punishment, but as sacred space for the soul to breathe. Let's explore why loneliness is such an important part of our inner journey. First, loneliness exposes what we truly crave. It strips away superficial pleasures and reveals our deepest hunger for meaning, belonging, and authenticity. When you feel lonely, it's your soul's way of saying, there is more. You are more. You belong, but not where you've been looking. It's a reminder that no matter how many likes or followers you have, nothing replaces the profound experience of being truly seen. Second, loneliness invites us to embrace ourselves fully, the parts we usually try to hide. When you are alone with your thoughts and feelings, you might confront fears, doubts, or wounds that have been buried under layers of distraction. This can feel uncomfortable, even painful, but it is also where healing begins. Being alone with yourself is an act of courage. It's saying, I am willing to meet myself, even when I don't like what I see. This willingness to face your own soul is the foundation of self-love. It is the recognition that you are worthy of your own kindness, attention, and care. Third, loneliness creates the space for transformation and growth. Just as a seed must be buried in darkness before it can sprout and grow toward the sun, loneliness is the fertile soil where new parts of you can emerge. In moments of solitude, your soul can process experiences, release old patterns, and imagine new possibilities. History is full of stories about how great thinkers, artists, and spiritual leaders have used loneliness and solitude as powerful tools for insight and creativity. From Rumi writing poetry in isolation to Buddha sitting alone under the Bodhi tree, solitude has been the birthplace of profound awakening. But loneliness can also feel like a double-edged sword. For some, it spirals into despair and feelings of worthlessness. The key is learning how to sit with loneliness without losing yourself in it. How do you do this? First, shift your perspective. Instead of seeing loneliness as a void or a curse, see it as an opportunity, a sacred pause. It is not about filling the emptiness quickly, but about honoring the silence and what it can teach you. Second, develop a practice of mindful presence. When loneliness hits, don't run from it. Instead, breathe into it. Notice the sensations in your body. Allow yourself to feel the emotions fully without judgment. This simple act of presence can transform loneliness from a source of pain to a source of wisdom. Third, cultivate connection with yourself. Treat yourself as you would a dear friend. Listen with compassion, offer words of encouragement, and nurture your needs. This might mean journaling your thoughts, going for a walk in nature, or simply sitting quietly with a cup of tea. These small acts of self-care remind your soul that it is not alone. Fourth, reach out with intention. Loneliness isn't about the absence of others, but the absence of authentic connection. Seek relationships where you can be vulnerable, where you are valued for who you are, not just what you can do or provide. These connections nourish your soul and remind you that you are part of the human family. Let's reflect on a story that beautifully illustrates this journey. There was once a young woman who felt deeply lonely despite being surrounded by people. She tried to escape her loneliness through parties, social media, and relationships, but nothing filled the emptiness. One day, she decided to spend a week alone in nature, away from all distractions. At first, the silence overwhelmed her. She felt restless and scared, but slowly, she began to listen to the quiet voice within. She discovered parts of herself she had forgotten, the dreams she had shelved, the fear she never faced, the love she withheld from herself. In that solitude, she found a profound peace. She realized that her loneliness was not a curse, but a mirror reflecting her need to reconnect with her true self. When she returned to the world, her relationships shifted. She no longer sought to fill a void, but to share her fullness with others. Her loneliness became a bridge to deeper connection, not a wall of isolation. This story reminds us that loneliness, when embraced with courage and compassion, can lead to transformation. It calls us to slow down, to feel deeply, and to awaken to the truth that we are never truly alone. Because the world is a mirror, and in the reflection of loneliness, you find your soul's true face. Every moment your mind is a garden, and your thoughts are the seeds. What you plant, nurture, and feed grows, sometimes into beautiful flowers, sometimes into stubborn weeds. This simple truth carries immense power. The thoughts you choose today shape the reality you live tomorrow. Have you ever noticed how a single thought can change your whole day? A hopeful idea can lift your spirit like the morning sun. A fearful worry can cast a shadow that darkens every moment. Your inner world, your thoughts, beliefs, and attitudes, acts like a lens through which you experience life. Change the lens, and the world looks different. The ancient philosopher Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This timeless wisdom reminds us that, while we cannot control everything that happens around us, we always have the power to choose how we think about it. Why does this matter so much? Because your thoughts influence your emotions, your decisions, and ultimately, your actions. When you think positively, you're more likely to take risks, solve problems creatively, and find opportunities where others see obstacles. When negative thoughts dominate, you become trapped in fear, doubt, and limitation. But it's not just about thinking positive in a shallow way. It's about being intentional with your mind, watching closely what seeds you plant and how you tend to them. Let's explore this with a metaphor. Imagine you're standing in a vast garden plot, ready to plant seeds for the coming season. If you scatter seeds without care, weeds will grow alongside flowers, choking the life from your garden. But if you carefully select your seeds, nourishing the ones that bring beauty and fruit, you create a thriving space that feeds your soul. Your mind is that garden. Your thoughts are the seeds. The choices you make about what to believe and focus on determine what grows. For many people, negative thoughts are like weeds, persistent, invasive, and sometimes overwhelming. They can be thoughts of unworthiness, fear, self-doubt, or regret. These weeds often arise from past conditioning, trauma, or cultural narratives that tell you who you are supposed to be. But here's the key: weeds only take root if you let them. You can uproot those harmful thoughts by shining the light of awareness on them. Notice when a negative thought arises. Don't fight it or judge yourself for having it. Simply observe. Then, gently replace it with a healthier thought, one that nurtures growth and hope. For example, if you catch yourself thinking, "I'm not good enough," you can pause and say, "I am enough as I am, and I am growing every day." It might feel strange or even false at first, but repetition and intention create new pathways in your brain, new patterns that become your new reality. This process is called neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to change and adapt. It means your mind is not fixed or limited by your past. It's a garden that can always be replanted and renewed. But planting seeds isn't enough. You must also water and tend them. This means practicing daily habits that support positive thinking, meditation, journaling, affirmations, or simply pausing to breathe deeply when negative thoughts arise. These practices cultivate mindfulness, the ability to be present and aware of your mental landscape. Mindfulness helps you become the gardener of your mind, rather than a passive bystander. Another important aspect is recognizing the power of language. The words you use about yourself and the world shape how you see reality. Speak to yourself with kindness and encouragement, as you would to a beloved friend. Here's a personal example. A young man once told me how he struggled with anxiety and self-criticism. His mind was filled with relentless voices saying he was not enough, too flawed, and destined to fail. These thoughts grew like weeds, overwhelming his confidence and joy. Together we worked on planting new seeds. He began a daily practice of writing affirmations, statements of truth and hope. He reminded himself, "I am capable, I deserve happiness, and I am learning and growing every day." Over time, those seeds took root. The weeds lost their grip, and he found himself stepping into life with more courage and peace. Your thoughts don't just affect you. They influence how others see you too. When you carry a mindset of possibility and love, you radiate a magnetic energy that attracts positive people and opportunities. Your reality begins to shift, not by magic, but by the simple, powerful act of tending your inner garden. Of course, this journey isn't about perfection. You will have days when weeds pop up unexpectedly. That's normal. The key is to keep returning to your role as gardener. Patient, gentle, and persistent. Let's reflect on a challenge you might face: negative self-talk during failure. Failure can be one of the harshest moments for your mind's garden. It's easy to let self-doubt and criticism flood in. But what if, instead of watering the weeds of shame and regret, you chose to plant seeds of resilience and learning? What if failure became a teacher, not a verdict? Every successful person has faced failure, yet what sets them apart is how they thought about those experiences. They saw failure as feedback, an opportunity to grow rather than a sign of defeat. They nourished the seed of perseverance, even when it was hard. You can do this too. Your mind is powerful beyond measure. What you believe about yourself and your life becomes your reality. Choose your thoughts like seeds. With care, intention, and love, tend to them daily. Watch your inner garden bloom into a life of meaning, joy, and freedom. Remember, the world is a mirror reflecting what you hold inside. When you cultivate a garden of hope, courage, and love within, the world will reflect that beauty back to you. Your past often feels like a heavy chain, a weight that drags you down, reminding you of mistakes, pain, and missed chances. Many people look back and see only regret, shame, or sorrow. They feel trapped, believing that what happened before defines their entire story, locking them in a prison built by memories and old wounds. But what if the past is not a prison at all? What if it is a classroom, a sacred place where your soul comes to learn its deepest lessons? This shift in perspective is not easy. It asks you to look at your history not as a series of failures or losses, but as experiences rich with meaning, teaching, and growth. It invites you to see your scars not as marks of shame, but as symbols of survival, courage, and wisdom. Let's begin by acknowledging the truth. Your past has shaped who you are. It is woven into the fabric of your identity, influencing your thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. But this shaping is not destiny. It is only a chapter, not the whole book. To break free from feeling imprisoned by your past, you must start by changing your relationship with it. Instead of fighting your history or running from it, learn to face it with compassion and curiosity. Ask yourself, what did this experience teach me? How did it prepare me for the person I am becoming? What strengths did I develop through hardship? When you ask these questions, your past begins to transform from a source of pain into a source of power. Consider this: every hardship you have faced has been a teacher in disguise. Loss, rejection, failure, and disappointment are tough lessons. But they are lessons nonetheless. They teach resilience, empathy, humility, and the courage to keep moving forward when life feels uncertain. Many great figures throughout history have spoken about their struggles as essential parts of their growth. Take Nelson Mandela, for example. He spent 27 years imprisoned, yet he emerged with a spirit unbroken. He once said, "I am not a saint unless you think of a saint as a sinner who keeps on trying." Mandela's past was filled with hardship, but he chose to see it as a classroom where he learned forgiveness, patience, and the true meaning of freedom. Your story, too, has teachers hidden in its chapters. Sometimes, the hardest experiences bring the clearest revelations. When you lose something precious, you learn to value what truly matters. When you feel broken, you discover your own strength to heal. When you face fear, you awaken courage you never knew you had. But healing requires one key ingredient: forgiveness. Forgiveness isn't about forgetting or excusing what happened. It's about releasing the chains that bind you to the pain of the past. It's a gift you give yourself, a choice to let go so you can step fully into your future. You might need to forgive others who hurt you, and sometimes, most importantly, forgive yourself. Self-forgiveness is often the hardest because it asks you to face your own imperfections with kindness. It asks you to say, "I did the best I could with what I knew then. I am worthy of love and growth." even with my mistakes. This act of forgiveness opens the door to freedom. It turns your past from a prison into a path forward. Your past also teaches the importance of presence. It reminds you that no matter what happened before, the moment you have right now is yours to shape. You are not your history. You are the one who chooses how to move from it. Every new day is a blank page, and you hold the pen. Embracing this truth is an act of courage. It requires faith that change is possible, that you are more than your wounds, and that your future is not determined by your past. Another powerful way to transform your past is through storytelling. When you tell your story, not as a victim, but as a survivor and learner, you reclaim your power. Sharing your experiences with honesty and vulnerability connects you with others and reminds you that you are not alone. Stories have the power to heal because they help us see meaning in chaos and hope in despair. Your story matters, and telling it can be an act of liberation. Let's close this chapter with a meditation you can use to start changing your relationship with your past. Find a quiet place and close your eyes. Take a deep breath and bring to mind a moment from your past that still holds pain or regret. See it as if you are watching a scene in a movie. Now, imagine stepping into that scene as a compassionate observer. Look at yourself in that moment with kindness. Say to yourself, I see you. I honor your pain. You did the best you could. Next, ask the scene, what lesson do you want to teach me? Listen quietly and be open to any insight. Finally, thank that moment for its role in your journey and gently release it, knowing it does not define you. When you practice this meditation regularly, you begin to rewrite your internal narrative. From one of imprisonment to one of empowerment, your past is not your prison. It is your classroom, your foundation, and your teacher. Step into this truth. Learn your lessons. Walk forward free. Because the world is a mirror, and when you release your past, it reflects back your freedom. In a world obsessed with perfection, the pressure to appear flawless can feel overwhelming. We scroll through social media feeds filled with curated moments, edited photos, and stories that often hide the messy, complicated truth behind the scenes. It's easy to look at ourselves and see only the flaws, the mistakes, the not enough moments. But what if imperfection is not a weakness? What if it is the very essence of what makes you beautiful, unique, and whole? Imagine an artist standing before a blank canvas. Each brushstroke, whether bold or subtle, perfect or uneven, contributes to the masterpiece. It is the combination of light and shadow, smooth and textured strokes, that creates depth and life. Without imperfections, the painting would be flat and lifeless. You are that masterpiece, a living work of art shaped by the twists and turns of your journey. Embracing your imperfections is an act of radical self-love. It means looking at the parts of yourself you've been told to hide and saying, I see you, I accept you, and you are part of my beauty. Why is this so important? Because denying or fighting your imperfections creates inner conflict. It's like trying to erase brushstrokes from a canvas, damaging the whole picture. When you reject parts of yourself, you fragment your identity, making it harder to live authentically and fully. Instead, when you welcome your imperfections, you open the door to wholeness. Think of imperfection as the texture that gives your life character. Your struggles, fears, quirks, and vulnerabilities are not flaws to fix. They are the colors and patterns that make your story real and relatable. Psychologists tell us that self-acceptance is key to mental health and well-being. When you accept yourself fully, including your mistakes and limitations, you reduce anxiety and increase resilience. You become more compassionate, patient, and grounded. But self-acceptance is not a one-time achievement. It's a practice, a daily choice. How do you cultivate this practice? Start by becoming aware of your inner critic, the voice that points out what you think is wrong or lacking. Notice how often it speaks and what it says. Then, gently challenge that voice with kindness. For example, if you hear, "I'm too shy," respond with, "Being shy means I'm thoughtful and a good listener." Or if the voice says, "I'm not successful enough," say, "I am growing and learning at my own pace." Another powerful way to embrace imperfection is to share your authentic self with others. Vulnerability creates connection. When you let people see your true face, imperfections and all, you invite them to do the same. This shared humanity dissolves loneliness and builds deeper relationships. Remember the words of Brené Brown, a leading researcher on vulnerability and shame. Imperfections are not inadequacies. They are reminders that we're all in this together. Your imperfections also teach humility. They remind you that no one is perfect. No one has it all figured out. This awareness frees you from unrealistic expectations and helps you live with grace and humor. Consider the story of a famous painter named Vincent van Gogh. During his lifetime, he struggled with mental illness and felt misunderstood. He created hundreds of paintings that were not appreciated until after his death. Van Gogh's brushstrokes were bold, raw, and often unconventional. Yet today, his work is celebrated as a masterpiece of emotional depth and beauty. Van Gogh's imperfections, the turmoil, the struggles, the intense emotions, are what made his art resonate so deeply. In the same way, your imperfections are gifts waiting to be honored. Embracing imperfection also means forgiving yourself. We all make mistakes. It's part of being human. When you hold yourself to impossible standards, you set yourself up for disappointment and self-judgment. Instead, practice self-forgiveness. Say to yourself, "I am allowed to make mistakes. I learn from them and grow." This mindset frees you from the chains of guilt and regret and opens space for healing and transformation. As you learn to embrace your imperfections, you begin to see beauty in the unexpected and value in the unfinished. You become more patient with yourself and others, recognizing that growth is a messy, nonlinear process. In fact, some of the most inspiring stories come from those who turned their perceived flaws into strengths. The athlete who overcame injury to become a champion, the artist who found voice through struggle, the entrepreneur who failed many times before success. Their imperfections didn't hold them back, they propelled them forward. Let this truth sink in deeply. Your imperfections are not barriers to love and success. They are brushstrokes of your unique masterpiece, each one adding depth, texture, and authenticity. Celebrate them, learn from them, allow them to shape the person you are becoming. As you close this chapter, take a moment to reflect. What parts of yourself have you been hiding or judging? How can you begin to see them as essential parts of your beauty? What small acts of self-love can you practice today to honor your whole self? Remember, the world is a mirror. When you accept and love your imperfections, the world reflects back a truer, more vibrant version of yourself. You are perfectly imperfect, and that is your greatest strength. Life is a vast ocean of possibilities, but every journey begins with a choice. A single moment when you decide which path to take. Your decisions are the rudder steering your ship through calm seas and turbulent storms alike. They define your direction, shape your experience, and ultimately craft the story of your life. At times, it may feel like circumstances control you, that fate, luck, or the actions of others dictate where you end up. But beneath the surface of life's unpredictability lies a profound truth. The power of choice belongs to you. Philosophers, thinkers, and spiritual teachers across centuries have recognized this fundamental freedom. The ancient Greek philosopher Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." This reminds us that while we cannot always choose what life brings, we can always choose how we respond. Choice is your superpower. From the moment you wake up, you make countless choices, some small, some monumental. What to think, how to speak, where to invest your energy, which people to surround yourself with, what values to uphold. Each decision is a seed planted that grows into your future reality. But this power can feel overwhelming. How do you make good choices when the options seem endless, or the stakes feel high? How do you avoid the paralysis of indecision, or the regret of what if? The answer lies in understanding that choice is not about perfection. It's about intention, awareness, and courage. Imagine standing at a crossroads, uncertain which way to go. Fear whispers, "What if I choose wrong?" Doubt creeps in. Am I ready? Do I deserve success? These fears are natural. They arise because choices carry weight. They shape your destiny. But remember, every path has unknowns. No choice guarantees a flawless journey. What matters is the commitment to move forward with clarity and purpose. Your choices are expressions of your values and beliefs. When you align your decisions with your authentic self, your inner compass guides you more clearly. This alignment creates a sense of peace and confidence, even in uncertainty. Let's explore this with a story. There was a young woman named Maya who faced a pivotal decision. She had a stable job but felt unfulfilled. A passion for art called to her, but pursuing it meant leaving security behind. Friends warned her it was risky. Family worried about her future. Maya stood at her crossroads, torn between comfort and courage. One day, she sat quietly and asked herself, "What do I truly value? What kind of life do I want to build?" The answers came gently. She valued creativity, growth, and meaning more than security alone. She chose to take the leap. The road was not easy. There were moments of doubt and struggle. But Maya's choices, small and large, built a life rich with purpose and joy. Her destiny was shaped not by chance, but by the courage to choose her own path. Your life is like Maya's, shaped by your choices, not by external forces. Another powerful aspect of choice is owning your responsibility. It's tempting to blame circumstances or others for where you are, but the freedom to choose also means the responsibility to accept the consequences of your decisions. This is not about guilt or blame. It's about empowerment. When you take responsibility for your choices, you reclaim your power. You stop being a victim of life's circumstances and become the author of your own story. This mindset shift transforms fear into freedom. And here's the beautiful paradox: the more you accept responsibility, the more freedom you experience. Why? Because you realize that no matter what happens, you have the ability to choose your response. Even in the face of loss, failure, or hardship, your choice to rise, learn, and grow remains intact. Choice also opens the door to transformation. If you don't like where you are, remember, you can choose a new direction at any moment. You are not bound by past decisions or current situations. Change begins with a single choice: to believe in possibility, to act despite fear, to dream bigger. Sometimes, making that choice requires patience. Change is rarely instant. It unfolds step by step, decision by decision. Celebrate the small choices, the daily acts of courage, kindness, and self-care. These build momentum, creating a ripple effect that shapes your destiny in profound ways. to help you harness the power of choice. Try this practice each morning. Take a moment to set an intention. Ask yourself, what kind of person do I choose to be today? What values will guide my actions? What decisions will align with my highest self? Write your answers down. Let this intention be your compass throughout the day. When challenges arise, return to your intention. This anchors you, helping you make decisions that reflect who you want to become, not just what feels easy or safe. Remember, choice is not about controlling every outcome. It's about engaging fully with life, with courage, presence, and authenticity. As you continue your journey, trust that every choice you make is part of the unfolding masterpiece of your life. Even mistakes and detours are valuable teachers, guiding you toward deeper wisdom. The world around you is a mirror reflecting the choices you make inside. When you choose love over fear, growth over comfort, hope over despair, your reality shifts to reflect those truths. So stand tall at your crossroads. Breathe deeply. Feel the power within you. You are free. You are powerful. Your choices define your destiny. Choose wisely. Choose boldly. Choose with your whole heart, because the world is watching, and it will mirror back the life you choose to create. Human beings are inherently relational creatures. From the moment we enter this world, relationships shape our experiences, our identities, and our understanding of love and trust. The connections we form with others serve as mirrors, reflecting back to us not only who we are, but also who we believe ourselves to be. Have you ever noticed how certain relationships evoke strong emotions? Joy, frustration, love, or pain. These feelings often reveal more about your inner world than the other person. Your interactions act like a mirror, showing you the parts of yourself you might be unaware of or unwilling to face. Understanding this can be a profound key to personal growth and healing. Think about it this way: the qualities you attract in others, the patterns you repeat in relationships, and the conflicts you experience often echo your internal beliefs and unresolved wounds. The people around you are not just random characters in your life story. They are reflections of your inner landscape. This realization invites a powerful question. What do your relationships reveal about your relationship with yourself? When your inner world is filled with self-love, acceptance, and peace, you tend to attract relationships that uplift and support you. But when there is inner turmoil, doubt, or fear, those feelings can manifest in challenging dynamics with others. It's not about blaming yourself or others. Rather, it's about recognizing that true healing begins within. The first step toward healthier relationships is cultivating a compassionate and honest relationship with yourself. Self-awareness allows you to see how your thoughts, fears, and expectations influence your interactions. For example, if you struggle with feelings of unworthiness, you might find yourself drawn to relationships that confirm those feelings, or you may struggle to set healthy boundaries. On the other hand, nurturing self-compassion helps you to respond to yourself with kindness, reducing the need to seek validation externally. Imagine your inner world as a garden. If the soil is rich and nurtured, your relationships blossom like beautiful flowers. But if the soil is neglected or filled with weeds of self, doubt, and pain, the garden struggles to thrive. Healing begins by tending to that inner garden. One practical way to start is through mindful reflection. When you experience conflict or strong emotional reactions in relationships, pause and ask yourself, what is this situation revealing about me? Is there an old wound or fear being triggered? How can I respond with greater love and understanding, both to myself and the other person? This process transforms relationships from sources of frustration into opportunities for self-discovery and growth. Consider the story of Sarah, who repeatedly found herself in friendships where she felt undervalued. At first, she blamed others, feeling hurt and betrayed. But through introspection and therapy, she realized she struggled with self-worth and had difficulty expressing her needs. By working on her relationship with herself, practicing self-love, setting boundaries, and communicating honestly, Sarah began attracting friendships that respected and cherished her. Her relationships reflected the inner healing she cultivated. Another profound aspect of relationships as mirrors is forgiveness, both of others and yourself. Holding on to resentment or anger toward others often reflects unresolved pain within. Forgiveness frees you from the burden of carrying emotional wounds and opens space for healing. Forgiving yourself is equally vital. We all carry regrets and mistakes, but beating yourself up creates barriers to love and connection. When you forgive yourself, you release those barriers and invite greater authenticity and vulnerability into your relationships. Vulnerability is the bridge to deeper connection. When you allow yourself to be seen, imperfections, fears, and all, you invite others to do the same. This mutual openness creates trust and intimacy, the foundation of meaningful relationships. The world is full of mirrors in relationships, from romantic partners and friends to family and colleagues. Each relationship offers lessons, reflections, and invitations to grow. By embracing this truth, you stop seeing others as obstacles or enemies, and begin to view them as teachers and companions on your journey. As you heal your inner world, your outer relationships transform. You attract people who resonate with your authentic self, and interactions become richer and more fulfilling. To conclude this chapter, try this simple exercise. Next time you experience a strong emotional reaction in a relationship, pause and reflect. Write down what you felt, what triggered it, and what it might reveal about your inner world. Then, ask yourself how you can nurture healing within, whether through self-compassion, forgiveness, or honest communication. Remember, the most important relationship you will ever have is the one with yourself. Nurture it with love, patience, and kindness, because the world is a mirror, and when you heal within, your relationships shine with the light of your transformation. As we arrive at the final chapter of this exploration, it is important to remember that the journey toward understanding the world as a mirror is not a destination. It is a lifelong voyage. The truths we've uncovered, the reflections we've seen, and the insights we've gained are stepping stones on a path that continues to unfold with each day. Living as your true reflection means embracing the reality that who you are inside shapes everything you experience outside. It means accepting your inner light and shadow, your strengths and vulnerabilities, and allowing that authentic self to guide your actions, choices, and relationship. This chapter invites you to commit to this ongoing process of alignment, of living in harmony with your deepest truth, so that the world you see around you reflects the beauty and wisdom within you. The power of authentic living. To live authentically is to live courageously. It means showing up fully in your life, with honesty, openness, and integrity, even when it feels uncomfortable or uncertain. It means choosing to express your true self rather than wearing masks to fit expectations or avoid rejection. Authenticity is magnetic. When you live genuinely, you attract people and experiences that resonate with your soul's frequency. You create a life that feels meaningful and vibrant, not one that merely ticks the boxes of societal norms or external approval. Yet, Authenticity is not about perfection or having all the answers. It's about being willing to be imperfect, to learn, to grow, and to evolve. It's about embracing the mystery of life and trusting your inner guidance to navigate its twists and turns. Aligning actions with values. One of the most powerful ways to live as your true reflection is to align your actions with your core values. Values are the compass points that guide your decisions, behaviors, and priorities. When you act in harmony with your values, you experience a sense of congruence and peace. Take time to identify what matters most to you. Honesty, kindness, creativity, freedom, connection, or whatever calls to your heart. Then, reflect on whether your daily choices reflect those values. For example, if you value kindness, are you showing kindness to yourself and others consistently? If freedom is important, are you allowing yourself to break free from limiting beliefs or toxic environments? Living with integrity to your values grounds you in truth and empowers you to face challenges with resilience and grace. Embracing change and growth. The mirror of the world will continue to reflect new facets of yourself as you grow. Sometimes these reflections reveal shadows, fears, doubts, or old patterns that call for healing and transformation. Instead of resisting change, embrace it as a natural and necessary part of the journey. Growth often feels uncomfortable because it challenges familiar habits and beliefs. But it is through this discomfort that you evolve into a fuller version of yourself. Remember the words of the poet Rainer Maria Rilke, "Let everything happen to you, beauty and terror. Just keep going. No feeling is final." When you allow yourself to experience the full spectrum of life's emotions and lessons, you deepen your wisdom and compassion. Cultivating presence and gratitude. Living as your true reflection also means cultivating presence, the ability to be fully aware and engaged in the moment. Presence allows you to experience life more deeply and respond thoughtfully rather than react impulsively. Gratitude is a powerful companion to presence. When you appreciate the richness of your life, the simple joys, the challenges, the relationships, you open your heart and shift your perspective toward abundance rather than scarcity. Try a daily practice of gratitude, noting 3 things each day you are thankful for. This simple habit rewires your mind to notice the goodness around you and within you. The ripple effect of your authenticity. Your journey toward authentic living does not exist in isolation. The way you show up influences the people around you. Family, friends, colleagues, and even strangers. When you live with integrity, compassion, and courage, you inspire others to do the same. Your authenticity becomes a beacon of light, encouraging those who see your reflection to explore their own truths. The world desperately needs this ripple effect. More people willing to live honestly, love deeply, and act kindly. Continuing the journey. As you move forward, remember that the mirror you see in the world is shaped by the reflection you give. There will be days of clarity and days of confusion, moments of joy and moments of struggle. Both are valuable and necessary. Commit to staying curious about yourself and the world. Keep asking questions, seeking meaning, and embracing your full humanity. This is not a journey you take alone. The world, with all its beauty and complexity, is your companion and teacher. As we come to the end of this journey together, I want to leave you with a gentle invitation, an invitation to look at your life and the world around you with fresh eyes. Remember, the world is not just out there, it's a mirror reflecting what's inside you. Your thoughts, feelings, and beliefs shape what you see and experience. So ask yourself, what reflection are you ready to see today? What part of yourself are you willing to embrace? heal, or celebrate. If this message resonates with you, take a moment right now to pause and breathe deeply. Let that awareness settle into your heart. Know that every choice you make to live authentically, to love yourself and others, and to embrace growth will ripple outward, creating a life that reflects your deepest truth. I encourage you to share your reflections in the comments below. What part of this journey touched you most? What insights are you carrying forward? Your voice matters, and together, we can create a community where growth, authenticity, and kindness shine brightly. If you found value in this video, please consider liking and subscribing. It helps me continue creating content that uplifts and inspires curious souls like you. Finally, remember that your journey is uniquely yours, and it's beautiful. Embrace the mirror. Trust the process. Keep moving forward with courage and compassion. Thank you for being here today. Until next time, keep shining your light into the world